So that's cool.
Gosh.
So a little popcorn ting.
Yeah, it was kind of a last minute little, let's go to the movies. We don't go to the movies that often.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
Nick does. Nick goes alone, but only to the porn movies.
Well, for obvious reasons.
For Nick's friends.
That's how we're going to do this?
Nick's like, yeah.
I like how we start shows.
Nick doesn't like when it's him.
Thanks, Jacob.
This episode is made possible by our therapy partners, Dirty B and Pickett from fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. This is Pod Therapy, real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. And welcome to any new listeners who may have just recently heard of the show and are tuning in for the first time. We promise to keep it real clean. And now broadcasting from the churn. Yeah. That's Jim. That's Whitney. I'm Nick. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
So welcome to the first and only episode of Pod Therapy. You may notice the entire back catalog has been deleted.
That's super cool, Jacob. I, Jim Jobin, though, would like to say a few things.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah. I would like to say that I'd like to actually tell the story about how I met my wife. So there we were, Hollywood Boulevard. I was just walking along, and all of a sudden, the best trick in town comes sauntering up to me.
You heard in your sports car?
In my
that
RV.
lets us know how big your dick is.
Oh, Lord. So go to patreon.com/therapy. There is quite the Jim's Tale of Woe this week.
I just like
does
that.
Not disappoint.
Just hinting at it the smallest amount makes your face turn really red.
Red. I don't think I've seen Jim that red and tearful.
I mean, Jim telling the story, listeners, caused him to turn beet red.
Yes,
a story that happened 2 days ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll be thinking about this for the rest of my life. I'm pretty sure.
When's the next meeting?
I don't. You know what's funny?
You asked to go to more meetings.
I didn't get the email.
Weird. Really?
They said okay, I'll email you all right after this with the minutes and when the next one. That never happened.
Yeah.
So I think that'll probably be my last showing. So whatever. But hey, some other
you got a certified letter from UNLV.
Yeah. Please do not return. Cease and desist. Some interesting Pod Therapy show news. So first, our website, podtherapy.net, where we always direct you to submit questions anonymously. Some of the Patreons noticed that the website host that we use, which is Tumblr, they changed the setups that you actually had to create an account to submit an anonymous question. So we fixed it. We came up with a workaround. So if you go to our website now and you just navigate through the buttons, I think it's there's a button that just says the podcast or something like that, and a drop-down menu comes down. You'll find a link that says ask a question. Click on it. It will direct you to an anonymous Google form. It does not ask for your Google information. So if you're logged into Google when you answer it, I won't ever see any of that crap. It doesn't need it. So it's just completely an anonymous form, but that is our new way to drop information to the show because we want to make sure that we create a exclusively anonymous way that we don't have to email us if you don't want to. That's always been the main way people like to submit. But again, you can always you can send a question to us through your email.
What's the email?
PodTherapyGuys@gmail.com. And you can just tell us this is anonymous. We'll never read it out loud.
Yeah.
But, anyway, if you
we'll read the email out loud, not your name, though.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, but that's
honestly,
fixed.
whatever name you sign the email as, that's the name that's going to get read on the air.
Exactly.
Right? Like,
we
if
do
you
not
sign
look
the
at
email
anonymous.
address.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, no one pays attention to what that email address is. So,
the email itself just gets copied and pasted into a Word doc.
Yeah.
And so the email is pretty much lost. I mean, so unless we actually look at the email and the address, which we never do.
Nobody's ever taken
Unless
pretty much.
it's
But you're
Tangent
describing your
on it.
extra steps.
Yeah,
exactly.
We do not do that.
So anyway, we take the minimum amount of steps, as evidenced by everything we do on this.
Yeah, everybody.
By
on
the way, the amount of
Patreon-
steps that we take, 1.
Yeah,
We
everybody
copy
on
and
the
paste the
Patreon
email
was like,
from the email
That's
to a Word doc.
Copy.
on the Discord, all the
That's true.
patrons were like, "Hey Jim, we're just gonna build you guys a new website and then teach you how to use it." And I was like, "Whoa, partner, let's stop right there.
Whoa,
nope. We don't
Stop
know
all
how to
this
use the one
teaching
we've
talk.
got. We have a very specific system where you submit shit and we get an email that says you've got shit. Go get it." And that's 100% of the things we know how to do. We need to keep it that simple. So we have kept it that simple. But also, Patreon news. Pod Therapy has finally hit the big time. Mm-hmm. We have our first ever doctoral intern for the show. Can you fucking believe it? Because I kind of can't, but it's real. So as you all remember, we have an official horse of the show, Tonka
Yes.
Truck the Pony.
Yes.
And Tonka Truck the Pony's owner is Emma, who is a licensed therapist in Illinois and is currently in a doctoral program. And her program requires that she do something for mental health as a volunteer in the world and just kind of take an intern opportunity.
Okay.
So she reached out to us and she was like, hey, do you need an intern? We were like, fuck yeah. So we have a licensed therapist
that's
intern.
awesome.
And so she's going to be creating some really cool content for the Patreon and start pumping that through into the series. So she's developing all that now, and we're brainstorming with her to do some really cool special content. So it's never been a better time to go to patreon.com/therapy, sign up, because you won't have to listen to Nick and Jim's dumbasses for long. We're going to have more support in there. So
Sweet.
big news, exciting developments. Pod Therapy finally made it. We hit the big time. So hopefully we don't destroy her career like other therapists. who
Yeah.
have Been
By lying
affected
about
by
having a
pod therapy.
podcast.
Yeah,
I
Lord.
sent her an email with my coffee order, and I still
I
don't
saw
have
that.
my coffee.
Yeah, I was waiting to send
So
mine
she's-
until after she
she's,
sent yours.
Not off to a great start.
Yeah,
I'll
I think
just-
we get to grade her, so that'll be fun.
and we'll do it on air.
yeah, 100%. We're reviewing the whole fucking thing.
Oh,
on
wait,
air.
you do have to do the thing though at the end, right? Because we had an intern
Yeah, an evaluation.
early in Ice Cream Social.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
how we met Ryan.
Ryan.
Oh, cool.
Who
cool,
made this
cool.
belt?
Ah, there you go.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
But yeah, he was our intern first. And yeah, we had to do a whole evaluation thing
That's
at the end
right.
of it.
That's right. And we're going to be very strict on this.
Good.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, she could produce all the great therapy content in the world. That coffee order needs to be fucking right.
That's right.
Served hot.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I don't know
just
how
think
you get
about
that.
the emotional stress that can be caused by an incorrect coffee order.
There it is.
yeah.
That's damn. He's good.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Let's just do that. I think that we could loop that around.
Oh, yeah.
Tell the professors like, look, she is terrible.
Yeah.
Okay? just awful.
You can't tell the difference between a latte or a cappuccino. I mean, that's some
She
bullshit.
doesn't know the difference. Okay.
I have so many things that are unfiled.
My socks are all mismatched. My laundry's undone. Nothing's been cooked. Sir, none of that's on the learning.
My wife is
objective.
waiting for someone to sexually satisfy her.
And it's not going to be me, Professor.
I have an intern.
I have an intern for this shit. Things to do. I have a podcast. All right, we got some great questions for today's show. The first one in the lineup is dating toxic dudes. Hi, Pod Therapy
Like the
people.
Swamp Thing.
Yeah. Hi, Pod Therapy people. I find myself attracted to men who are a bit cold and disrespectful to me, and it's impairing my ability to hold healthy relationships. To be clear, the type of guy I'm speaking about is someone that I can have a loving relationship with, but they have a bad side to them, hence the coldness and disrespect. An example of this might be something like my boyfriend gifting his ex-girlfriend a brand new iPad for Christmas and then gifting me a shot glass out of pity. Wait a minute.
What?
This sounds really specific. I think this is definitely a metaphorical example because that's also what happened on this show.
Yeah.
And anyway, do you have any insight on
Like,
how
sounds
I think
familiar.
they're giving me an example that I would understand.
I believe
get
so.
it. So you have dickhead friends too. Got it. Do you have any insight on how I can minimize my attraction to this kind of behavior/person? And how can I maximize my attraction to more kind and respectful humans? For reference, I'm a female in my early 20s. Thanks in advance, Anonymous.
Ooh. The first thought I had was kind of attachment styles. That's where
Okay.
my brain went.
Oh, yeah.
But that's kind of digging around deep, maybe.
Yeah.
Dig
I
deep.
love.
it.
Go for it.
I love the awareness. Let me just throw that out there first.
Yeah.
I love the awareness because that really is the first step, as cliche as that sounds. You're noticing, hey, we have some really great moments, but there's some really not great moments too.
Yeah.
And you're even labeling it as bad, like a bad side to that.
Right.
So I guess I have a lot of questions too. It's sort of condensed. So part of me is like, how long are we staying with these partners? Is there anything that changes once you notice this? Or are they the ones that are ending things? Like that would help maybe with the type of advice I would give.
Why are girls attracted to bad boys? What's the deal?
We want to
with
fix
this?
them.
Is that what it is? Well, that's
I'm
therapist
like
girls.
halfway joking.
Yeah, therapist girls, sure. What is the deal?
No, I do think part of it is like I'm just thinking back to clients and whatnot. And I do think part of it is...
Yeah, clients.
Yeah, clients. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
definitely
A friend.
clients. A friend. They're not 38
You don't know
years
my friend.
old.
Yeah.
They live in Canada.
So anyway, my friend Brittany.
Yeah.
My friend Mercedes.
Tell us about your friend Brittany and her bad boy phase.
Yeah, I was definitely very attracted to bad boys.
At the Christian college, the boys who like didn't close their Bible before they left,
And
Totally.
her boyfriend, Spreeder.
yeah, Spreeder.
His name was Deep.
Yeah.
Instead of
Go
Pete.
on.
Oh my gosh.
So fixing dudes is part of it.
I
Somebody
do feel
told
like
me once
there's
that it
value.
also can be like if a guy seems like he can afford the luxury of being disinterested or mean,
Mm-hmm.
that it might accidentally communicate a sense of value. Like when you meet a really rich, pretentious person, you're like, either this person's really fucking rich or just an asshole, but I need to wait around and figure it out because they have like a power thing going on. It's like, you're kind of a dick. Can you afford to be a super dick? Like, what's going on? Is that
Yeah.
part of it? Like, there almost is
little
like
bit.
a sense of value
Yeah,
that
a
they're
little
transmitting.
bit, I think, is that chase. I would call it like a chase.
I was going
Like,
to say, I think it triggers
Yeah.
the chase.
Yeah.
The chase gene.
that,
Okay.
and more than like, oh, they can afford to ignore me. I think more so it's that, oh, can I get them to like me? Even if when they do.
Then you don't want them
again,
anymore.
speaking for my friends and
Yeah, Brittany.
no
Brittany in
personal
Canada. We've
experience.
covered that.
Brittany in Canada.
Yeah.
Brittany Mercedes. Yeah, I think a little bit of that is that challenge. Like, can I get this person
Mm-hmm.
to feel attracted to me? And then that will like increase how I feel about myself. in
So
a
it's
lot
kind of
ways.
win them.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
makes sense, right? Because then the opposite of that is like the super nice guy who's like super clearly affirming and flattering and complimentary right out of the gate. And it's sort of like, oh, I'm not even taking you seriously, right? Because
Yeah.
it's too easy.
Yeah.
Women are bitches, Nick. This is terrible. A lot of things are clicking for me right now. All of high school's fucking made sense. It's like, oh shit, so I should have been mean? Like, is that how this works? Okay.
Oh, it's
I
like it's
know.
cute when Jim thinks it's somebody else's fault that he
Yeah.
didn't get laid.
You can use that
I
if you
wasn't doing
need
it the
to,
right
Jen.
way.
That's fine. No, it's hard to watch that trope now play out in movies or TV shows where it's like, oh, I'm the nice guy and the girl doesn't like me. And the reality is that maybe there's just some youth involved there that you're trying to figure that out. Like, oh, what do relationship dynamics look like? If I do chase after this person, am I gonna get like validated for that?
Right.
And if you don't, I feel like then you're like, all right, well, fuck that. I'm going to go be with a nice guy who actually appreciates me or whatever.
So you've definitely had patients over the years.
Yeah.
Like young women.
Canadian-
patients.
Canadian
yeah.
patients.
Yeah, but they've come to you and said, oh, you know, I keep dating toxic guys and there's like, they're reading things online like I need to know my worth or I need to treat myself better. And then it's tough as a therapist because we can't just agree with that and be like, yeah, you're right, break up with them, here's how you do better. Like we have to kind of help them get to a place where they're ready to make that choice.
Right. Yeah. Thinking of a specific person.
Brittany in Canada.
Yeah, Brittany. No, what comes to mind is like almost the value they feel is from helping. Look, I'm helping this person be better or
Okay.
I'm helping them. I see that a lot with young women and that is really tough as an older woman myself. I know, right? You think back and you're like, no, don't do it. But you can't tell them that. You can't say
Right.
don't do this. And just like the writer is asking, like, how do I not feel attracted to that type of person, which is hard because really we're kind of attracted to who we're attracted to for a hot
point.
minute. Like that
Yeah.
initial reaction, that initial connection is there. You can't really help that always.
So this was going to be my follow-up question to the two of you
Okay.
because I don't really deal with this. But
You're not attracted to bad boys?
everybody's
the
attracted to
bad
I mean,
boys.
I'm attracted to bad
Everybody's
boys.
attracted to bad boys. That's just a yeah.
That's my type.
yeah, I was gonna ask
No,
how
but,
back.
like,
I started
how
a
you deal
podcast
with
with
it.
two
Yeah.
assholes. Like, what? He just threw shit at me. But if he was like, hey, Jim, want to go out for a
He
beer? I'd be
didn't
like,
mean
yeah.
it. He didn't mean it.
Jim, can you do my
Yeah, I
dry
did.
cleaning? Yeah, I could probably
I
do
did.
that. Yeah, you hit me right in the
Oh
fucking
yeah,
face.
I mean, from Jim's perspective, that's Jim's whole goal is I can make Jacob like me.
I'm almost there.
It's a chase.
See,
Yeah,
that's the
we've hung
chase.
out. We've hung out outside of the show without you.
Whatever
we watched
you
a football
say.
game together. I'm working on him. We're getting
we
there.
have?
This
Wait.
couple of years ago. You were pretty drunk.
All right.
Also, I just showed up at a bar that you were already drunk at. But we sat 2 seats away from each other. Like, you were happy with what happened. It was fine.
I know we watched the UNR game. That's
Yes,
right.
we did.
That's right. I remember that.
It's a couple of years back. It was
We
a good
planned
time.
to go somewhere and meet together.
We
and
did.
We did.
Met outside.
That's true. We did do that.
See?
Okay, what were
Anyway,
you
Ryder,
asking? What were
it
you
works.
asking?
It was
Never give up.
obviously very meaningful to Jim. Didn't mean anything to Jacob, is what I'm learning from this.
Well, the life advice, Ryder, is never give up. Eventually, you win them over. If you're finally good enough.
But my question was like, in a situation like this, if you're working with, if this writer was a client of yours, what you can't change what someone's attracted to.
Right.
Like, what is the goal here in
Yeah.
therapy for this individual?
Well, that's where I mentioned earlier that I wish there was a little more information, because I would want to dig in to gather more info on when are you noticing this? How far are these relationships going? Who's ending what? Like, there's just a lot more surrounding that. I guess if you're just asking how to not, what'd you say? How can I maximize my attraction for more kind and respectful humans? I mean, the first step I would say is noticing that. Once you notice that person is not a kind or respectful human, then you need to change something. So that can be getting space from that person. You can ask yourself, what do I not like and what do I like?
Yeah.
And the positive side of that is, what are the qualities I do want in a person? And you're kind of sussing that out earlier on.
Which I actually do think happens. And I think it happens organically. And I think it happens over time. So, like, one thing I've noticed, I'm sure you guys could relate to this, you also develop a taste for certain kinds of people based on past bad qualities you've experienced in your dating, and now you have an aversion to that. Whereas, you know, there was a time when you thought this trait was hot or this trait was attractive. Then you got in a relationship with somebody and that trait fucking drove you into the ground. You hated that. And now whenever you're finally away from that person, that kind of trait, when you're out back on the market and you're looking around, you're turned off by that trait now. When you see it in other people, you're like, nope, you remind me of my ex. That does not work for me. So I do think, Ryder, that there is a natural sort of change that does take place where you do start to feel like, you know what, that I do not like the way this makes me feel long term. I'm not into that anymore. I'm looking for people that are different than that. I think that does happen. But as far as like why this happens or what's the treatment plan, come back to the next question. I don't know that I'm trying to change what a person's into. I don't even know that that's possible from a therapy standpoint. I think that only happens through life. But I would like to expedite their awareness by getting into sort of their history, doing a trauma timeline, getting deep into their relationship history, talking also about prototype relationships. So like a lot of times there's the old trope, right, that girls with daddy issues end up dating these terrible dudes, right? And it's like, why do you do that? Like, and it's like, you clearly hated your father. He was a bad guy or he wasn't around. Why do you put up with this kind of bullshit with these other guys? Why don't you look for a better guy? And I've heard some really good hypotheses for that. And one of the strongest candidates is the argument of familiarity. It isn't that I like it. It's that it's what I know.
Yeah.
I grew up in this. I'm aware of this.
It
so
feels kind of good because
there's
it's
something
comfortable.
about it's nostalgic.
Even if you
yeah.
don't like it.
That's right. I could
Yeah.
tell you everything wrong with this scenario or this kind of person. But when this kind of guy approaches me, I get him. I understand his vibe. I understand how he thinks. I understand, what he's all about, his little mannerisms, little behaviors, and I know how to fit inside of that matrix. And so it's familiar. And yes, I probably learned that from my family of origin or early life experiences, right? So I would be sitting down with Ryder therapeutically, trying to attack from that angle of like developing a deeper sense of awareness so that when people get that insight and that awareness, they start to have control over it. It's a lot similar to like addictions work. When we start making people aware of like their triggers and the emotions behind the thing, because they're just driven by the emotion, they're driven by the craving. They don't even notice that that's happening. It's a pair of glasses they see the world through. They're not aware they're wearing them. And a big part of addictions work is trying to help them get the glasses off long enough to look at them. That way, whenever they notice the world through them again, they start to distrust that perspective and realize that's not how you really need to be. You can choose a different life. That's one thing. And if you wait or if you work around that, you can get around this challenge. Like you can get around that craving.
Like feeling out of control about a situation, but then you realize, I could have some control here.
Right. There's a way that I can still find other options and alternatives to my normal thing.
Do you ever hear this? I've heard this a couple times over the years, that those relationships sound boring.
Right. I've absolutely heard that.
I've had an addiction.
I have heard that from men and women.
Uh-huh.
I've heard men who will. I've worked with some men for years and seen them through several relationships, and they've been through some really chaotic ones, and they're in one that's very stable and really good, and then I'll notice they're sabotaging it.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about it, and I'll say, Bob, why are you? It seems like you're unhappy, but I've been with you in the past, and everything you've complained about in the past is remedied in this person.
Yeah.
What's going on? And that when they've thought about it, they've said those exact words is, Jim, it's so weird, but I am bored.
I know.
But
that
I was
hurts my
so
heart
sad when
I
I was in chaos. Like, I don't want to be sad or angry or
I'm a
fearful.
firefighter. There's no fire for me to put out.
What am I doing? Just sitting here collecting unemployment. So, Jacob, you're a registered bad boy.
Ooh.
What
It's the long hair.
Is that it?
Well, literally last episode, somebody wrote in saying,
hold on,
how do I
hold
stop
on.
Jacob from stealing my wife?
How many rings are you wearing today, Jacob?
Just the one.
Damn
He's
it.
got a
Okay.
theater degree. Let's settle down. Let's settle down just a little bit.
Who's that guy that was in Parks
Are
and
you
Rec?
saying he's acting?
Yeah. The guy who plays Ron in Parks and Rec. He was
Oh my
talking
gosh,
about
Ron
how,
Swanson?
Yeah. He's talking about how he drank moonshine like a certain way by flicking it over his wrist, and the director was like, "How do you know how to do that?" And he's like, "That's how you drink moonshine." And they're all like, "Oh man, you must be like really tough." He's like, "Yeah, I'm the toughest guy that went to Juilliard."
Exactly.
I know
There's a
things.
sliding scale.
I drank moonshine at Juilliard.
Yeah. So you've seen this. You've seen the bad boy fixation.
I guess. Sure.
Yeah. And people just get stuck on it.
I don't know. I mean, I think people
Yeah, what are
make
your
bad
thoughts?
decisions for a lot of different reasons. I would say for the writer, like if you want to, you can either date people that you're instantly attracted to, or you can kind of finesse things and work to find someone who you like for a relationship. Like, I mean, you can just do that. You can be purposeful and searching for someone who you're really interested in being in a relationship with, that maybe like you wouldn't necessarily go after instantly if you saw them across the room in a bar.
Right.
Yeah. I usually, the advice to piggyback off that I'll give is find someone you can be friends with, that you just enjoy spending time with. And especially working with teens, before or now young adults, it's a really good go-to, because that may feel kind of, quote, boring, or, oh, look, we're just hanging out or whatever. But it's like, that's where the most valuable parts of intimacy come from, is that connection, in my opinion.
So it also kind of seems like what we're saying here too is like, through improved awareness, along with the fact that you're in your early 20s, that this is kind of going to start to work itself out in a sense.
I think
Should
a lot
a
of
little
people
bit.
from
With-
life experience start
with improved awareness.
Yeah.
And I would say just like focus on that self-awareness and focus on what you're doing. If you want to live in the moment,
Yeah.
but be aware of it as well.
Yeah.
Kind of note things.
I kind of used to have similar conversations, kind of throwing it back to addiction, not in romantic relationships, but in just meeting new people.
Yeah.
Because it's so crazy, because if you take two people who suffer from addiction and you put them in an auditorium filled with 5,000 people, those two will
Oh, yeah, y'all
find each
said
other
that.
Every
within like
time.
10 minutes. They'll find each
God
other.
damn, they
Like,
all
There's
what
just some
the
sort
hell?
of natural
Yeah.
attraction. And so I always used to tell people too, like in early recovery, like, if there's something about somebody at a meeting, or you see somebody and you're like, oh, I kind of click with this person.
Right.
Just be aware of that.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
kind of like, if you see somebody else like, oh yeah, I don't really have anything else. I don't have anything in common with this person, to be able to be like, oh, maybe I should spend a little time. Maybe I should get to know this person.
Right.
Just to kind of be aware of that.
Yeah. No, I like that advice. I'm really proud of us, because as I was reading this, I definitely thought the move was that all three dudes were just going to start being mean to the writer. Just to see what happens.
Ow.
Just get
Now
more
I
emails.
want to do it over again.
Yeah, just start being mean. That's a really dumb question,
I
writer.
feel like we did miss.
Your
yeah.
writing is very poor.
Yeah.
I don't approve of any of it. And then jump on my Harley and just do a wheelie. Anyway, good luck with this one, writer. It is a common reality. A lot of people are like this. But I agree with the suggestions that you have to audition the change that you want to see in your life, right? Like, in coming back to other bad habits that, people realize they struggle with and they need to break, they start trying to explore the alternatives to that. And it's tough at first, and they do have to take some time with it and refamiliarize themselves with things that they're not naturally, used to. Meeting nice partners who do not belittle you, who are not unkind to you, who are not toxic at you, that is probably going to feel strange and unfamiliar in the beginning. So, it's okay for you to take some time on that and try to just work that. And yeah, let it be strange, let it be awkward, let it be disquieting. But maybe over time, that'll start to become something you're more comfortable with. It might
So you're saying maybe fake it till you make it?
Oh!
Fake it till you make it!
Damn.
Always the answer.
We just got a life coach.
Just always.
Come on.
Jeez. Anyway.
When does it not work?
It always works.
Just start
Always
saying it at the
fake
end of
it.
every
Yeah.
question.
Fake it till you make it.
Where's the T-shirt on that? We gotta get that.
I gotta publish a book.
Yeah, it's the shortest book. It's just a fortune cookie.
Yeah.
Just a $30 fortune cookie.
That's a lot of blank pages, but one of them in the middle just says "fake it till you make it."
Done.
10-point type.
Yeah. Oil painting of him on the back. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're talking about Minecraft drama. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is made possible by Jake Schneider, Judy Schneider, Leon Kassab, Carolyn Albert, Sammy Scoop, Sarah Smith, Mike Helm, Darren Cunningham, Matt, and Lisa Tangeman. And if you would like to sponsor the show, become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. All right, here we go. According to Carl Jung's theory of personality,
Jesus, are we still doing this?
what is the collective unconscious? Carl Jung's theory of personality. What is the collective unconscious? Anybody want to take a shot in the dark?
Fuck that. No, give me the answers. Not playing this
I thought
fucking
Jim
game.
would.
It's just it's a room filled with unconscious people.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
The shared unconscious experience of a cultural group. The personal unconscious mind developed through individual experiences. The part of the unconscious mind shared by all humans containing archetypes. Or D, the unconscious memories from childhood.
Fuck, dude. Fuck. Fuck me.
give me
Every
A again?
single one of those sounds right.
The shared unconscious experience of a cultural group. That's the one I would probably have eliminated. But then B sounded good, C sounded good,
Yeah.
D
B and
sounded good.
C
I'm
sounded-
C.
What's C? The
What's C
archetypes?
again? The
Yeah.
What was B again?
B is the personal unconscious mind developed through individual experiences.
Jesus, dude.
I'm going C.
Yeah,
So
me
it's torn
too. 'Cause the
between B and
archetype
C.
thing is the one thing
Yeah.
I know really about Young.
And Jacob picked it, so I have to pick whatever Jacob.
Well, it doesn't matter because
It
he
doesn't.
fucking dunks on us when we
I
stay.
know.
It doesn't matter.
I was torn between B and C. I'm going with C.
It is C.
Comes in first.
And
too.
I am great at this.
Yet again.
You missed your calling.
Yet
Okay?
again, we see no difference between the professionals and the amateurs.
I don't know what
Damn
that
it.
says about us or Jacob is the problem. Because Jacob's getting them right. This is fun.
We didn't even know we were going to keep doing these today.
You know what?
I wish we would.
You know what?
I really would like to move on
Whoever's
to anything
next
else.
needs to send in questions about like studio stuff, like
Yeah.
producing.
Yeah.
Oh, get them wrong.
Somebody fucking send them in. Send in some audio questions.
Because I want to know how bad we would do.
Oh, dude, we would get
Yeah.
smoked.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't know what any of that shit is. What?
No.
Okay, here we go. In Yalome's...
Wait, I don't need that to happen, though. I'm already winning this way.
Yeah.
Well, just to help you
He has
boost,
nothing
you
left to
know,
prove.
Like, we're at least on the same page.
I know more
I hope he
about sound
beats-
technology than you
I'm going
do.
to write some golf trivia and watch him
Yeah.
fucking dunk on Nick.
In Yalome's Therapeutic Factors of Group Therapy, what does installation of hope refer to?
Instilling hope.
Da-da-da.
I agree with you.
Go on.
That is what those
Do I
words
get 2
mean.
points?
Is it the group's collective belief in positive outcomes for each member? The providing practical solutions to members' problems? The leader's optimism about group progress? Members sharing inspirational stories?
Yeah.
B.
All right. Ooh, Jacob going B. With that was the what was the B?
What was the question?
I'm not happy about it.
I'm like,
I'm
what was
going
the
B.
question?
B was providing practical solutions to members' problems.
What is installation of hope?
No, I don't like that one.
Installation of hope?
Never mind. I don't like B anymore. Give me the options again.
The group's collective belief in positive outcomes for each member, providing practical solutions to members' problems, the leader's optimism about group progress, or members sharing inspirational stories.
Oh my god, this is hard.
I don't like any of those
Oh my
answers.
god, this is the hardest one.
I guess I'll
feel
go
like.
A.
Okay.
I'm not thrilled
All right,
about
look,
it.
I was gonna go A.
Really?
And I'm still going A, but I just want it to be on the record. I'm not just copying Jacob. I am trying. I am
What?
picking what I
Say-
actually think is
say
right.
B.
Jim, you're gonna have to start writing your answer down
Yeah,
ahead.
Yeah, I
that's
am,
what I
guys.
thought
I'm gonna
last
start
time.
texting it to Nick.
What was B again?
B was providing practical solutions to members' problems.
I misunderstood
And
the B option
sorry,
the first time I heard it.
I feel badass. What's C?
C was the leader's optimism about group progress.
I'm gonna go C.
The leader's optimism.
It's A.
Shit! Should have
Copy
copied
Jacob.
Jacob.
Just copy
I should have
him.
copied Jacob.
Smartest kid in class. Just sit behind him and just look at the answers.
Damn it! I went off
Peek
the,
on the
off
sheet.
the route.
You did
and
that to yourself.
I did. I did it to myself, trying to be different.
You'd think I'd stop enjoying it as much too after a while.
Oh, 3 fucking shows in. We're
You're
still
sending
doing
this
it.
in. Stop it.
If I were to tell
Wow.
I'm like
Jacob,
16-0.
if I were to tell Jacob that I'm going to start a spin-off podcast
Yeah,
that is just
this.
answering these questions, I'm pretty sure he's in. All right, last one.
No, I think I missed one last week, didn't I?
I think,
Yeah, you
you're-
did.
I think in
Yeah.
all of history you have
Yeah.
missed one.
Yeah, I think
No,
there's
I
only
believe
one.
that's the one that I missed.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Carl
Which
Jung's
Whitney just missed one. I just want to point that out.
in Carl Jung's theory of personality, what is the anima and animus?
Oh, here we go.
That's the thing you put up the butt.
There it is. That is the
waiting for
answer.
that.
The collective unconscious and personal unconscious, the shadow self and persona, the feminine inner personality in men and the masculine inner personality in women, or the conscious and unconscious mind.
God damn you, Young.
I'm just
The
gonna have you
anima
repeat it
and
all
animus.
because I need it twice.
Okay, here it is.
Now, this one isn't fair. I don't know what any of these words mean.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to remember what I know about Jungian philosophy.
In Carl Jung's theory of personality, what is the anima and animus? So two different things, anima
Oh,
and
okay.
animus.
Oh,
I
not
misheard.
in.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
And.
that's what I heard
And.
too.
Okay.
So,
Anima and animus. So we're
Animus.
defining two different terms.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Are
personality
they-
theory.
The collective unconscious and the personal unconscious, the shadow self and the persona, the feminine inner personality in men and the masculine inner personality in women, or the conscious and unconscious mind.
A.
Damn it.
Okay, Jacob's saying A.
B.
I'll
B?
take the men and women one. C.
C. It's C.
Whitney's so happy.
I lost and I'm happy.
As long as Jacob doesn't win.
Woo!
Team therapist gets one.
I'll be honest. I'm definitely on Team Therapist.
Thanks,
this
buddy.
is really
Embarrassing.
You know, if you were really on Team Therapist, you could throw this fucking trivia away.
We need to learn baseball signals here.
When I get one and he doesn't, it is rare. Most of the time, that is not what's happening. It would be great if you would just get some new fucking trivia.
We have an intern for that.
That's right.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a great job
Actually,
for the
it was
intern.
our intern who sent us the.
Damn it,
these.
you're right. That's
and,
right.
and she sent us the
Yeah.
Olympics ones and the horse ones. I guess she's kind of been doing this all along.
Wow.
Yeah, well, at least we're putting her to work. Minecraft drama. Hi.
By the way, that's a dumb definition of those.
Yes.
Anima and animus, like those two words should have more to do with each other
Yeah.
than just like inner personality and outer facing personality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Like,
sounds like your bitchy anima, though,
Yeah.
Yeah.
saying that. So,
Wasn't the Animus the computer thing in the Assassin's Creed?
yeah, I think so.
Games?
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
so. I think
Yeah.
Animus Prime was also a robot.
I was
I
too
like
busy getting
Jacob's
laid while
animus, yeah.
Jim was playing that video game.
Because you're a bad boy.
Vroom, vroom on a scooter.
Juilliard.
Fucking rolling on that scooter. The leather
me
jacket.
roll.
Baddest boy in art school.
Hi, Pod Therapy friends. I run a server of 18 plus Minecraft players.
Wow.
We have an active Discord community where people interact and in-game chat on the Minecraft server. The people who run the server and I are all volunteers who just want to make a community where we can have fun together with our friends. I've been doing this for over 3 years, and I really enjoy trying to make my community a happy and stable place for people to play. Our biggest problem is that we always seem to have these events where someone gets their feelings hurt or they don't enjoy playing with a specific person. Often, the person who is having a problem will call for the people involved to be removed from the group or banned temporarily as punishment. They're rarely willing to accept anything less as a punishment, and this just feels wrong to me. When I refuse to ban people, these incidents tend to end with the person who is upset taking their group of friends with them off the server. It sucks to see friends leave. Although we can recover again by finding new friends who want to play, and I would really like to find a way to stop this from happening. The way our discipline is set up on the server is, first, we make sure someone broke the rule in the first place. Then, we talk to the person involved on both sides to get an idea of what happened. We share that information to a channel where staff can see and talk about it. Staff assigns a points value of 0 to 3 on how bad that thing that happened was. Someone built a machine in-game that hurts the server would get a talking to and a 0. But if we had to talk to them about the same thing a week later, it's a 1. Someone said obvious racist things to another member with intent to hurt is a 3. A 3 gets kicked out of the server. The vast majority of my and the Minecraft community in general has ADHD or autism. I ran into so many friends on the server who have ADHD like me, diagnosed that I asked one day, and the majority of the community claimed to either have ADHD or autism or both.
I've been told that before. I didn't know how true that was, how true that fact is.
Seems anecdotally true.
Yeah.
I know it's strangers on the internet, and I know that social media has been leading to more people to say that they have ADHD, but this was still enough players for me to think more carefully about how I communicate with them. I try to be more clear with my language. A lot of the time, I find myself being misunderstood, and I'll need to say what I meant to say again, but in a different way. There's a wide range of ages on the server. I'm one of the older ones at 42, but the staff has a variety of ages. The staff member who co-owns the server with me is 22. We get along great and make a great team. A lot of the players we have problems with have been players who are on the more immature end of the elders. Both groups can get cranky or mean at times or say something inappropriate. The last category is one of the more controversial categories, and I bring it up because it has happened multiple times. A few players have had something happen, and they say that it triggered a trauma for them. That person then shuts down any discussion other than how hurt they are. In my head, they have decided the punishment is exile and nothing less is acceptable. I feel like it's hard to make a place for them to play that would feel safe enough for them. I tend to have a lot of empathy for others, and I feel like I can see it from both sides. My goal is to make a place where people can have fun together, make friends, and lean on one another during hard times. These events have taken their toll on the server and the staff's mental health from all the drama. Are there any suggestions you might have about how to write rules for people on the spectrum? Are there communication techniques that might help avoid misunderstandings? Are there any good books or resources you would recommend on community management or conflict resolution? Thank you so much for your help. Signed, Lovely Spark. Pronouns are she and her.
Thank you, Lovely Spark.
That's really cool that you actually, because originally when hearing this, my first thought kind of reminded me of like our Discord.
Sure, yeah.
Which, anytime,
we had a lot of growing pains.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you've got a group of people on the internet, there's always going to be drama.
Yeah, even in a therapy Discord.
Exactly. And my approach has just been to never go on there.
That has worked for you. Yeah.
It's worked amazingly.
And Jacob.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
But
Every now and then somebody tags me and I look at it.
But no, I Lovely Spark. I love the fact that you have actually like looked into the ADHD and autism thing, and you're factoring that in as like
I thought that too.
Yeah, like
that was
that's
a smart
really
move.
cool.
Yeah, I like that question.
Because I think a lot of people would just be like, "Oh, they're being assholes,"
Right?
Yeah.
and not give any other thought to it. But the fact that you've made that connection and you realize like,
Well, she's trying to both sides. She's trying to look at both sides of the problem here, which is that's great. That's what you want.
yeah,
It's easy to be dismissive. It's easy to just be like, grow
Sure
up.
is.
It's the internet. Don't put your feelings out there to get stepped on. That's your problem. Blah blah blah. But then I think to try to do what Lovely Spark's doing and say, look, we really do want people to feel comfortable. We want there to be some kind of like reaction. But the reactions they want are black and white. They want people to like be banned or be kicked out and exile from a community. That goes all the way back to biblical times, man. Like that always is like the way people try to do it. And boy, do I not think that is a good like human management system.
Well, I think I am not an expert in neurodivergence, so I'm just going to preface
Yeah, I
that
don't
really
think any of us will
quickly.
claim
Yeah,
that we are.
but from
I don't know.
my,
Ask me some questions about it. I might be. I don't know.
you know
Is
what?
there a
Trivia.
test I can take?
Trivia.
Preferably a multiple choice test.
I have thought that. I'm like, if this were a blank space, I'd be fucked. But thinking back on, again, friends, clients, even clients who have family members we've that's affected them in our session, who have been either on the spectrum or ADHD, all these things. I just say neurodivergence.
Yeah.
There are a few things. One, the sense of justice is strong.
Yes.
So that's what I see
I've seen
here
that
when they
too.
go that black and white or ban them. It's like there's such a strong sense of justice with them that in the moment feels like I'm using appropriate in quotes,
Right.
the appropriate reaction for
Right.
them. Like, just get them off of here because I'm hurt and there needs to be a toll paid for that.
Yeah.
Or they've decided what the justice needs to be.
Yeah.
And so if it's not that, then it's not justice.
Correct.
And if you're not
Feels
achieving
unjust.
justice, then what are we doing here?
Yeah. Why do I want to be a part of it?
Exactly.
Now, the flip side of that is also when speaking with people who are neurodivergent, they really appreciate frankness and directness and kindness and sensitivity. So being mindful of how you're saying it, but also very clear on what the consequences are for certain things and how that's managed. And I don't know how transparent you are about that process, and maybe you don't need to be. Like, I'm not saying just open that up to
'Cause it'll
everyone.
always be second guessed.
Right, they're always going to question.
Yeah. How do you not see this? You only scored that a 1? Oh my God.
But I think if there are, and maybe you're already doing this, so sorry if you are, but I would just find a way to list out, some general ideas of just
Right.
kind of like you did here, but maybe a few more specifics. Like, these are the types of things that are.
It's definitely a good example, like creator and an expectation setter of like, here's what our system would look like. This is when we reserve the guillotine, right? Like the death sentence, the ban hammer comes down.
Right.
Rarely.
There's zero tolerance for this thing.
Right.
Or these
We
things.
might mute somebody. They're still welcome in the Discord, but we might put them on mute for a while or put them on a cool off. Like there's steps we do way before that. Yeah. But spelling it out.
Yeah, definitely spelling that out. And then there's one other thing I was going to say and I forgot it now.
Well, I think you're also
So that's gone.
Well, I was going to say one of the things too that I've noticed, and this doesn't have anything really particular to do with like neurodivergence or anything like that. I've just kind of noticed it as like working in an organization where I may have a leadership role,
right.
where
Like an HOA?
Yeah, like an HOA.
Okay, go on.
But anytime working with people and you have to tell them something bad, that oftentimes I've seen people really struggle with giving that information or giving that feedback because they try so hard to manage the person's feelings and let them down slowly that their message becomes muddy and very
Convoluted.
unclear. Where I've always found it easiest to just say maybe one small thing to demonstrate empathy or acknowledge their position or how they may feel. Just one sentence.
Yep.
And then follow up with one sentence that is very clear what happened and why it's
More
a problem.
factual.
Yeah. And then leave it as if you can't do it in 2 sentences, then something's wrong.
Well, and maybe just that first sentence is like validating. Like,
Yes.
I see you're upset, or that's very general. But yeah, I see this bothers you. I can have an idea of how that feels. But
Which really goes a long way into how I think, like, the question of how can I design rules. I agree with you, Whitney. I think that make sure that there's a way to standardize the expectation, giving examples to help illustrate, helping people understand, and maybe even quantifying it. I think it helps. Say, 5% of the time we ban people without return. 10% of the time we would ban somebody for 2 days. This amount of percentage we would mute them. This amount of percentage we would allow them to stay, but we would talk to them. We DM them privately, or we'll bring, that way they can go, okay, so did the thing that happened to me rise to the top 5% of things that have ever happened in this server? Because if I expect that punishment, but in the history of the server, that's not common, now I have a way to right size what my expectation of justice should be.
Yeah.
So setting that stage early, I think, is really helpful. But when it comes to like how to train your team, one of the things I would point you to is coming back to some of those basic de-escalation skills that we've all had to use as therapists, and especially people running like facilities and in substance abuse all the time. And if you go through our Discord, or not our Discord, if you go to our Patreon, patreon.com/therapy, I think for $5, I think is the price right now, you can get in there. You can see the entire library of everything we've ever recorded. And as you know, every Monday we publish new skills, research, all sorts of stuff. We have done deep dives into de-escalation skills, and I went over the 3 A's of assertive communication and attached the worksheet that I give to patients in session to illustrate the ideas. That is something that I think you should find and use, because it's very simple, it's very effective, it addresses a person, it hears a person, and it also kind of steers them in this subtle way without like being dismissive or controlling or trying to minimize their experience, but also helps them right size what the expectations are or what your staff is going to do, and like guides them toward acceptance of that. So that de-escalation skills, I think, is a big factor in how you manage the server.
De-escalation technique number 1.
Punch them in the face.
No. If anybody ever brings something up that makes you feel uncomfortable, assert that they're a liar.
Yeah. Make
Step
sure.
number 1.
Yeah, always say that.
While your
Always
face is turning
deny it.
bright red.
Yes. Yeah. And then use a lot of labels, tyrant, communist.
Yeah.
Get really excited with it. Just go.
If you don't say Hitler at least 3 times, you're fucked up.
Yeah. Write a diss track. Throw that in there. Just start a rap battle.
Actually, feel free to write a diss track.
Honestly, of all the moves you can
Send
do,
it
the diss
in,
track
send
is
it in.
more effective than people realize. I haven't heard anything after Kendrick Lamar laid
Yep.
one down. So
Yep.
I would be really interested, because I know we got some listeners that may kind of fall onto that spectrum or deal with ADHD. I would love to hear from any of our writers, like, how would
Absolutely.
you want to be approached?
Yeah.
If you did something on Discord or on any kind of server, and
Or you
assuming
felt unjust,
or even just assuming that you rightfully did what you did.
Right.
Like, how would you want to be approached with that information? I would love to hear it. I'm not going to go on to Discord, but maybe Jim should
I'll
relay
read
this
it. I'll tell you
information
what
later.
happened. Yeah.
But
Here's what I would do if I was the writer. I have a multi-step process.
Step
Go
1.
on.
Step 1,
Underpants.
I would just say, look, myself and the other person who runs it, my friend who runs it with me, we are the end-all, be-all when it comes to judging what things are. You can lay out all the numbers, you can do all those things, and tell people that 3. If you get a 3, you're out. Here are some examples of what a 3 would be. There are other things that we're not listing. Make sure you always say that. Like, there are other things that we might decide later are a 3. But here are some examples of what a 3 could look like. Here are some examples of what a 2 could look like. Here's some examples of what a 1 would look like.
Right.
Here are some examples of things that we would say, this is a 0, this is nothing, but that have been turned into us as potential problems before that we don't see as problems.
Right.
And I would say, we are going to be the arbiters of justice here. We are going to deal with all of these things. You, by being in this group, you are signaling your acceptance and respect of the fact that we are going to be the ones to do that.
Right.
Furthermore, if you ask for a specific punishment for someone, if you are reporting malfeasance of some sort, great. Report the malfeasance and your job is done. If you ask for a punishment, that is a minimum of a 1-day mute.
Right.
And
That's
you
a nice
start
move.
you start a punishment system for people who ask for specific punishments.
Right. Yeah, I like that.
And it's just, hey, you can ask for a punishment, and and it's not like a ban or whatever.
Right.
So it's like, if you think it's important enough to ask for a punishment,
I like that idea.
you're going to suffer this consequence.
Yeah, I like
We'll
that.
listen to your suggestion, but you will suffer this consequence.
I like that a lot. 2 things that I think I've seen in Discord. I'm pretty active
Very
in the
Hitler
Discord
of you.
world.
I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
There you go. Get him.
Y'all gave me
Yeah,
that
get him.
advice, and I'm taking it.
But don't
Write the
say
diss
it.
track.
Don't say it 3 times in a row.
That's right.
Otherwise
I'll
no.
never say it twice, bro. Some things that I've seen work in the Discord world, our server and other ones that I've been on.
Oh, no, she said it.
Oh no! I've seen it work where I've seen rule boards where they say, "Look, we have a council culture, not a cancel culture here. If somebody's out of line and you tell us about it, understand that our first move is to help them understand what our server is like." And the way we do that is, one, we want them to like listen and notice how other people talk, and we try to get them to slow down and listen and notice what's cool and what's not cool and what kinds of people have a sense of humor or whatever. And then, we also will pull them aside and go, hey man, that kind of stuff's out of bounds. Stop hitting on people, like whatever, and like they counsel them. And a lot of times people are really responsive. They go, hey man, I'm sorry. I've been in other servers that operated very differently. I'm getting it. Thank you.
We fucked everybody.
I fucked everybody in the last server. And so, no, it's really crazy because I'm in some servers where like people pop in and like they just start popping off trying to like show their dick or whatever. And then like, okay.
Oh, you mean when you say you're active in Discord, you mean outside of the...
Outside of Pod Therapy.
Pod Therapy.
Yeah,
okay.
There's other ones. And so like I'll get
Why
into
do
That's
that?
where he shows his
I find
dick.
other There's some video game ones. And stuff.
He goes to his dick show in Discord.
But yeah. I mean, I'm usually the guy who gets DM'd by the moderators.
Can that be the title?
Dick show in Discord. And there it is.
Jim's dick show in Discord.
Nope. I'm not going that far with it. But I will do that.
Make a
Dick
note.
show in Discord is going in the episode title. So that one I think is one thing that you can do that like helps people kind of like see and understand that, hey, our response is generally to coach and to counsel and to try to like help people get along and like we're trying to help them out. The other thing I would tell you, and this is something I hope that you listen to because I think it's one of the biggest takeaways, sometimes people like that leaving your community is the best thing for the future of your community.
Yeah.
If there are people that are super touchy and banging their hands on the table and saying, I demand X, Y, and Z, and they're just going to keep getting offended. There's going to be another person. They are going to keep pushing everybody else out and having you ban everybody until nobody wants to be a part of that kind of a community. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to be in a community of people that are that frail and that easily agitated and like ganging up and like trying, like if I was running a company and there were people that were like trying to start mutinies, like getting other coworkers like fuck this place, man, fuck the leadership, they're terrible, we should all just fucking walk out, we could all do better. I fucking hope you quit. That would be the best thing for my company is that you leave, and I hope you take 5 of the other naysayers with you on your way out the door, and I can replace you with people that aren't assholes and dragging this place into the mud and making it this weird, like, everybody's pissy all the time environment. So sometimes a mutiny and people, like, self-purging from your community is honestly the best thing that could happen.
Well, reminds me of one of those posters from the despair.com posters.
Uh-huh.
As it had something, it was like an HR poster or something that said something to the effect of like, sometimes the fastest way to improve company morale is to fire all the unhappy people.
Yep. That's not wrong. It's like, the math is mathing.
I remembered what my other thing I was going to say earlier was.
Too late.
And it was,
We've moved beyond it.
Just give me the trivia.
You got to be quick.
Give me the trivia.
Wow, she's like weirdly attracted to you now.
She's
like just licking her lips like, I don't know what just happened.
I'm gonna get my chapstick.
God, he's so mean. I'll bet you I could just do enough to win his approval.
I tell you to talk.
I think I can fix.
Why do you always wear sunglasses in the studio, Nick? It's really distracting.
This is Stern Daddy's podcast now.
Whitney, go on.
No, I was just going to say you're not responsible for other people's feelings.
Yes.
I mean, that's just the go-to. I get that you're empathetic, and I highly value that quality in you as a person, as a human on this planet. But at the end of the day, when they leave, that can feel sad, that can feel disappointing, but it's okay. You're not responsible for making them feel included and all these things. Like, you are running this Discord to reach a majority of people, and that's what you have to focus on. So it's kind of a little bit
always the hardest part of leadership of any kind of organization of people is just that there will inherently be a percentage who dislike you, who feel that you're doing everything wrong, who feel that they could do it better. And really taking on that role is just trying to do what you said, like 51%. You're just trying to get the plurality or the majority to just be happy there, and the rest suck, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah. Now take off those sunglasses, Jim.
I want our break music to be that. What is the fucking that CIS like the electric guitar, and that asshole always like flicks his sunglasses. You know what I'm talking about?
CSI.
That one. Yeah.
I was
What
like
did I
CIS.
say?
I was like sis.
Is that a different thing? I don't know what these
You
are.
are sis.
That one dude who's like a meme.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know.
yeah. And this is why I'm not a bad.
We're not in meme.
This is-
We're all
Bad Boy Jim is not very good at being Bad Boy Jim. I insult you and I'm like, are you okay? I'm so sorry. I made you this omelet. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to discuss discovering that your friend, trigger warning, is a pedophile. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Jake Schneider, Judy Schneider, Leon Kassab, Carolyn Albert, Sammy Scoop, Sarah Smith, Mike Helm, Darren Cunningham, Matt, and Lisa Tangeman. And if you would like to sponsor the show, become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. And if you are a therapy producer, you get to you get to sit
Easy
for
for you to
a
say.
get to know a therapy producer interview.
Mandatory.
Well, I'm bringing it up because I'm reading some of these names, and some of y'all have not gotten in touch with me.
Reach out. Do it.
So, do it.
They're
Anyway,
dodging you.
all right, here we go.
Now some more movie trivia. Yay.
Is it Disney?
Oh, dude, did you hear the new Disney album?
No.
Oh, it's
What?
called A Whole New Sound. It's on Spotify. It's a
I know what
punk-
I'm listening to on
It's
the
an
way.
entire album of old pop punk bands covering famous Disney songs.
Oh my
It fucking rules. You will love the
All
shit
right,
out of
I'm
it.
gonna listen
It's
to
called
it.
A Whole New Sound.
A Whole
it's
New
on
Sound,
Spotify.
okay.
You are a bad boy.
Yeah, I know.
So bad.
Yeah, as I'm singing Colors of the Wind, driving
my
around.
When we asked Whitney to be on the show, this is not the thing that I thought would draw the two of you together.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I did not see this as being a bonding
Our
thing.
millennial Disney magic is strong. We have broken into song more than
Our
once.
connector.
Yeah. We have that one bond.
All right.
We're pretty
What?
much the same person.
Don't ever say that again.
Get out. Yeah, why don't you start throwing shit at her face? As Jacob reaches for poker chips.
I was like, oh no. All right, sorry, go Nick.
Okay. What is the ethical principle of veracity in counseling? Veracity. That sounds better. Is it maintaining client confidentiality, acting in the client's best interest, being truthful and transparent with clients, ensuing equitable treatment for all clients?
All right, Whitney, we got this. All
Veracity.
we have to do is shut the fuck up and wait for
I
him to
know.
guess.
I'm gonna
We have a
wait
shot.
on
I didn't
this
listen
one.
to any of that.
Oh, we
All
have a good
right,
shot.
so it's a
We have
random.
really good shot.
A.
Meaningful maintaining client confidentiality.
Great. I really didn't listen to the question or the answer.
God damn it.
Veracity.
I was like, that was our chance. You weren't listening. I was going to go say.
You guys going A?
Shit.
Dude, what the fuck?
That
I was like,
in my mind, I was like, I could have Nick reread all of it, or I could just guess and maybe,
fuck you.
just maybe.
Wow. You going A?
Yeah.
I'm going C.
Oh.
Being truthful and transparent with clients.
Yes.
It is.
Oh. Okay.
Yes! Jim Claus is way out of the fucking
All right. Well done, Jim.
Yes!
Yep. No, he's taking this seriously because he knows that certain people may be listening to this episode.
Oh, okay. This makes sense
Fuck
now.
you. You need to get rid of this trivia. This is actually really dangerous. I never even thought about that, but now I'm like really fucking scared to get this wrong.
I honestly thought that's why he brought up that whole story was because of trivia. It's like he's listening to the
Wow,
podcast
dude, I'm
now.
we really need to stop doing this.
Nope, we're not.
I
We're going.
really am
We're too-
uncomfortable
we're
now.
too
far in.
This
We're
is
too
really
deep.
Yep.
scary.
We're too deep.
It's not my board.
Fuck me.
We have totally different questions.
We've all voted. All right.
so much higher stakes.
What is the critical incident stress debriefing (CISD) model primarily used for?
Taking off one's underwear.
It's
Debriefing,
critical.
Very critical and debriefing.
assessing chronic mental health conditions, preventing long-term psychological effects after traumatic events, providing routine therapy sessions, or enhancing social skills in clients.
See? I forgot to listen to the rest of the question after you said the word debrief.
B.
Providing routine therapy sessions.
Sure. That sounds like something you people like to do.
Okay. B.
B is the preventing long-term trauma, right?
Yes.
That is
Preventing
what I want.
long-term psychological effects
Yep. I'll take
after
B for
traumatic
Bravo.
events. Correct.
Oh, thank God. Thank
There
God.
we go, therapist.
Yeah, we
We're
know
holding on.
things.
We're holding on. Can we have social work exam questions next time? That would be Just have some of those.
I'm just letting you guys get back into sight.
He's teasing.
I got
He's
bored.
teasing.
He is still getting 3 to year 1.
And he's not listening anymore,
Yeah.
so that's part of the problem.
I'm now just bored with these questions. They're too easy.
Okay. He's no longer. All right, last one.
Throwing up half-court shots, is drinking a beer. Shit.
In dialectical behavioral therapy, DBT, what is the purpose of the chain analysis technique? Identifying and modifying irrational beliefs, analyzing the sequence of events leading to a problematic behavior, enhancing emotional regulation through mindfulness, or developing social skills and assertiveness. I think I know this one.
B.
Okay. Jacob says B, analyzing the sequence of events leading to a problematic behavior. Whitney and Jim.
I'm going to go B as well.
Oh, I was
How
torn between B and
interesting.
C, so I'll just guess B then too, to be like
It is B.
Thank God.
Yeah, it's fine.
Andy makes up
All the fucking points.
all the lights. There we go.
I
the
keep meaning to
pyros.
video those when you do.
I was like,
All
I
right.
should listen to the last question.
Good job.
Yeah.
Wow.
Way to defend that lead.
Yeah.
All right. Let's end the show on a high note.
This should have been the middle question.
Yeah, probably should have. Probably. Here
Why?
we go. All right. Trigger warning. This is going to have to do with pedophilia. So if you are listening to the show with your kids, which, what the fuck? Like, we've been clear for years.
We're judging you,
Children
apparently.
should not be listening to the show. It is for adults.
Also, the jokes I'm liable to make during this section of the show are going to be terrible.
I would just
Is it
also
gonna be
like to
any
say for
silent,
anybody
dead silent
listening,
ones where we're like,
I am not affiliated with Jacob.
I, Jim Jobin, am going to make some horrible jokes right now.
Jim's very affiliated with
Here we
Jacob
go,
right now.
everybody. Deep breath. We're
Or is
getting
it
into it.
petophilia?
Oh, there you go. It could just be either one of those. Discovered my friend is a pedophile. Greetings, Nick, Jim, Whitney, and Jacob. I just learned recently that a good friend of mine has struggled with pedophilia. My wife and I are beginning the journey of adopting a child, and I had asked this friend to be a character reference for me. He let me know that it probably wasn't a good idea because he had done some bad things in his past involving minors when he was young and stupid, and has been working very hard to better himself and not let this past define him. But he did not want his mistakes to reflect poorly on me. I told him I understood and said, I hope you don't think less of me because of this. My morbid curiosity got the better of me, and I Googled him. And it turns out he is a registered sex offender, having charges of possessing child pornography and other related offenses. He did his time in prison and has not offended again. I don't believe he is a current threat to children. He's married with children of his own, and they all seem very happy as a family. My wife has stated she would not want him around our future children unsupervised, which I understand and I agree with. I've always viewed pedophiles as less than human, but now I'm struggling because I know my friend is a good person who did wrong in the past, and I don't believe he would ever hurt a child again, but I'm having a hard time letting go of what I know about him now. Thanks for any help you can give me on this, Anonymous.
Okay.
All right.
I'll start with the low-hanging fruit.
All right,
all
go.
right.
It's
Jacob,
so
open us
hard
up.
Oh, here we go.
to not really be attracted to them with those little lights that they wear on their forehead so they can see underground.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They fill the little carts with diamonds and everything, and the carts come out. Yeah.
I was like, what? I'm slow.
black lung,
That was a good joke, Jim.
That was good.
Yeah.
right.
Wait,
Jim.
that's Jacob.
Thank you,
I'm Jim.
Jim
Jim's
Jobin.
over here. Jim's definitely not that guy. That will not work out. Even though, honestly, he's doing better on the exam. So I kind of fucked here.
know what?
I mean, like, what's going to offend people more?
And you
Like,
made a pretty clean joke there, Jim. Wait, Jim, I'm Jim. I'm confused.
I myself, Jim, made a
I
very
made
clear
a pretty clean joke.
Well, this is a very interesting question. And I think, okay, so it definitely turned out better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, me too.
I'm always glad to hear that somebody is reformed, that they do not do this anymore. It sounds like the friend seems to have great insight and is even saying, hey, look, I want to support you on your journey. And this unfortunately requires me to share this about, because I could just say no.
I was really impressed the friend told
Yeah.
anything. Like,
Absolutely.
That was my first take on this too. Was wow. I mean, congratulations to him.
Yeah.
Like let's give credit where credit is due.
Right.
Yeah.
This is something he could have said nothing.
Yep.
Right.
He could have said nothing at all. He could have just let everything go, but he did the right thing. He was honest. That would have been very difficult for him, for
Right.
anybody to just come
Yeah.
out and say that, knowing that it's going to change the relationship, knowing that you are going to tell your wife and it's going to change that relationship. I mean, this is a whole series of events that he knew was going to happen, and he did the right thing and went through with it. So
Yes.
Like he could have even said, I've done things in my past and left off the minors part.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
he
yeah,
could have
yeah.
just
Yeah.
still been like, oh, I don't think I'd be a good character.
there were
Right.
all
Yeah.
many ways that he
yeah.
could have softened the edges on all of
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I wonder if the friend was also kind of getting ahead of it, because it's like, hey, you're going to adopt. Like right now, they don't have children.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to eventually. We're very good friends.
I don't
And
wanna
I am
lose
legally
that.
required to inform you whenever you do have a child in your home. And it
Yeah.
seems like friend is a rule-following reformed person. Like has come out of the system, follows the rules. They are registered. There's a lot of people that don't. And this person is keeping up the registration. It is Googleable. And so whenever you can find it, that means they're following the rules. And right, he doesn't have to tell everybody everywhere, but he is required to inform somebody with a child nearby, or, you know, situations like that. And so I could see, like, I think they're required in some states, depends on the state, to go to their neighbors.
Yeah.
Also depends on the offense too.
yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It does depend on the offense and time and things like that. And there's different kinds of ways that by participating in counseling and doing good work, you could sort of get reductions of punishment. And there's a system to sort of reward good work. But yeah, I think we all agree. Wow, the honesty is
Love
something.
that.
Yeah, we definitely are impressed with that.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that goes to show that the writer's kind of radar on this, that the writer thinking this person is just a genuinely good person.
Yes.
You know, it goes to show that the writer's sense of that is probably
Your
pretty
read
accurate.
on your friend is probably pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also value highly what stuck out to me is you and your wife choosing to not leave your child unsupervised
Sure.
around him.
Yeah,
Let me
fine.
just reiterate
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
or
Fine.
reinforce that.
Nope,
Like
no issue there.
Good boundary.
I remember working with sex offenders. That's like the number one thing to prevent reoffense
Sure.
is not having the opportunity
Yeah.
to reoffend.
A good read.
So yeah, I fully support that. I love that y'all are on the same
Also,
page.
easy.
Yeah.
Because, like,
Layup.
how often do you leave your kids alone with other people anyway?
Well, you say easy. You don't have kids. Like
No, but I mean,
He's got dogs, and those
I have-
are-
you would leave your dog like when you go out of town. Who watches your dogs?
I mean, friends. We
The
have
local
friends at
pedophile.
house.
Oh,
Yeah,
friends.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's not the
that
same
was
thing.
Jim
But, like,
Joven. That made that joke.
That was.
Wait, what?
Stop throwing me under the bus.
I missed it.
Would you just fucking leave me alone?
Jim's falling out of his chair.
No, my point was, like, it's easy to, because, like, I'm not on my friends who have kids. Like, I'm not on their list to call when they need a babysitter. Because, like, I'm not a kid person. I'm not, like, you know, my house isn't particularly kid friendly, you know, things like that. So it's not a big deal to, what I was saying is it's not a big deal to be like, oh,
Yeah.
this is just going to be one of those people that isn't on that list of people that we're going to call to
You're
come
gonna
over
have other people.
and babysit our
For
kid.
sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Also, like, the friend has a family and everything. Like, presumably they're busy and they're not available to come babysit anyway.
For sure.
Yeah. See, my experience, Jim, you're the one with children here. You can correct me on this, but my friends with kids, they look to their friends with kids to like, hey, can you watch my kids? Because now they're playing together.
Sure, yeah. And this friend does have children.
And this friend has
Oh, yeah,
children.
that's true.
So that's where I was like,
And they
oh,
seem
That's
like
true.
a nice
Yeah, you're right,
family.
you're right.
So, yeah.
there might be a time that comes up where you're like, oh,
Yeah.
well, his wife's there. Or, you know,
Right.
like, I'm just saying, you know,
and I
things
think
come
also
up.
this needs to be mentioned because it's very easy for us to put everything in one box. And pedophilia is this big, bold, all caps word that scares the shit out of everybody. And like any crime, there are degrees of it that do need to be considered, right? And so in this story, to be clear, writer describes friend's offense, which is public, as having possessed child pornography. Unacceptable. It is a crime.
Yep.
We're not going to minimize that. If you are a person struggling with that, that is something that we need to correct. You do need to get help for that. You do need to discontinue that behavior. It is a crime. It is not victimless. It is a problem. And there are going to be different degrees of this. So, like, this is not, this person was found abusing a child. that would obviously carry a much heavier sentence.
They're not producing child pornography.
And they're not abusing anybody in that very direct way. So that's, again, listeners, Jim's not minimizing. Jacob, I'm not minimizing any of that. But it's just to make sure that people understand that there is a spectrum.
Yes.
And we don't want to just one box everything, because that we are adults. We can all get into the nuances.
And it sounds like the writer's doing a good job of not doing that.
Great job. And it's very hard not to do. Pedophilia, and let's speak to this. Pedophilia has this very powerful emotional.
Yeah, the writer says that.
It's
like,
so big.
I felt like they were in, like, what did he say, inhuman or less than human?
Yes, less than human.
Yeah,
and I know
I hear that a
for
lot.
many therapists, this is an off-limit zone where they're like, I can't treat anybody with this problem because I struggle, and this is something we train for so long, dealing with transference and projection, and for a lot of issues we overcome it, but for many therapists. And for me, that became a problem in my career. Was, I used to work with kids, and it always was very hard for me to hear about anything that was abusive. I mean, even if it wasn't sexual, just abusive parents or just unkind parents, or feeling like this kid's being mistreated and I can't rescue them. Those dad instincts would be so powerful that I would lose my therapist ability to be impartial and like give them the autonomy to make their own choices. I'd get too protective.
Yeah.
And so I started having to realize I can't take those cases. So that's just to emphasize, writer, how profound that feeling of disgust and frustration and fear can be surrounding this one particular issue.
Well, I was going to say something similar because, Whitney and I have both worked with juvenile sex offenders, and what percentage, if you had to guess, out of all the JSOs that we worked with had been victims?
Oh my God, like probably 100%.
Yeah, I mean, they were all victims at one point and then became offenders. And it is one of the things that, even when you tell people that you used to work in that population, there's just like,
oh my God, everyone, how do you do it?
It gets really tense.
I could never. I'm like,
and it's hard because you're kind of you get put in this position where it's like, okay, well, I don't want to become like the champion for sex offenders.
I know.
But I don't want to be like, I'm going to stand up, I don't want to be the one that fights.
Poor sex offenders.
But it's,
there's still a population.
There's still something that's going on that somebody has to kind of put some context within this.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing that's often missing, because here's the thing that people don't think about. Pedophilia is not a crime.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking that too when I read this.
Right.
I was like,
pedophilia is a sexual attraction to somebody prepubescent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. If
you never act on it, you've never committed a crime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We don't prosecute thought crimes.
Correct.
Also, people can't control that. They can't control what you're attracted to. You do control whether or not you act on it.
Is this question one again?
Okay, so you do control whether or not you act on that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, possessing child pornography is a crime.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sexual assault is a crime. Exploitation is a crime. All of this is a crime. And all of it we should take seriously.
Yes.
And I don't think anybody on the show is saying that we don't, that we're coming to their defense.
Right. I'm glad that he did serve time in prison and he paid his dues.
He did his time.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I think is really important to point out here with this story that everyone needs to understand is that this is a condition, or it's a thing that can be rehabilitated.
Yes. It's in the DSM-5.
It is. Yeah. And honestly, just looking at research from, people who've gone through sexual or offender rehabilitation programs or gone through therapy for it. As an addictions counselor, I'm jealous. I wish we had those outcomes.
Oh, the outcomes are very strong.
Yeah. The outcomes are actually pretty good.
Yes.
So we do need to put this in context.
Got to humanize it a little bit. Yeah, humanizing it. And I appreciate you, Nick, getting into the mental health nuances of it. None of us are walking around championing this. We're not members of fucking NAMBLA, but we're
National Association for Marlon Brando Lookalikes.
That's it.
Oh,
yeah. Which I am against.
Right.
I don't
like Jim Jobin am for it.
But no, none of us are championing it, but we have a responsibility, which we have always handled really delicately on the show. Over the years, we have had questions, authors write in who are pedophiles, We've had several of those come through where they have said, here's what I'm going through. Here's my struggle.
Oh, wow.
I have to submit this anonymously. I am literally using like every possible burner account because this is me admitting it, but I fucking need help.
Yeah.
And it's a very hard problem to have because it is one of the most secretive things ever. And there is so much terror to go to anybody for mental health care because, and again, most therapists, even veteran therapists that I know, would not be able to clearly tell us right now what are the reporting procedures, what's the line. And everybody that's going to be talking to somebody that says, I have this problem, but I've never done anything with it, they're going to feel a responsibility to ask hard questions because if there is a reporting requirement, they want to make sure that they're being above board.
Yeah.
And so it's very, very, very difficult to get help. And so I really appreciate that we can be the kinds of people that can get into the nuance of this, that can humanize this, can talk about the goodness, that people get better. And we are still going to answer this author to give them some feedback on how they can approach their friendship.
Yeah.
But to anybody out there who is struggling with this disease, if you find that you have an attraction to people, that it is illegal for you to act upon, and this has been a struggle for you, the things you need to take away from this segment: 1, with treatment, this gets better.
Yeah.
2, there are so many professionals that have worked with the population and have done it. And you said a second ago, Nick, you're pointing to Whitney, you said you two have both worked at JSOs. I worked at Eagle Quest. I had JSOs too.
Oh, yeah.
And so like all three of us, like 3 out of 3 therapists on a random fucking podcast have worked with sex offenders. And of course I've worked with tons of adult sex offenders. Like that's just, that happens in life. Like it's been practiced for a long enough time. So anybody that's out there listening, if you are struggling with this, you need to know it can get better. You need to know getting help is normal and right. And even if you have done things that you are scared to share, therapy does not have to be a deposition. We're not here to give you legal counsel. We're not an extension of the justice system. We are interested in things like, are you harming people presently? And we would like straight answers to that. But if you also as a patient do have the right to choose what you share with us. And you could say, look, I am just here for help. I don't want to get into all the list of anything I've ever done ever. But I need this to get better. And if you can meet me where I'm at, I'd like to focus on that. And look, I know that I, as a therapist, would enter into that zone with some discomfort, but also say the best thing I can do is help you stop doing this, right?
Yeah.
And then we can deal with what's happened in the past later. That's not my job, but like my job is to heal you. So anybody that's out there struggling with this, there are so many good support groups out there. And in the past episodes, we've listed them. We found them online. We've referenced them. If you just type this into our search at podtherapy.net, you will find lots of episodes that have covered it. I just want to make sure that we definitely don't bypass that because there needs to be a PSA for anybody struggling. There are folks out there that listen to the show that have admitted to us anonymously they have struggled with it. And we've also had people that have let us know later they got better.
Yeah.
That has happened. And one of them did face consequences.
Yeah.
And then wrote in later and said, I did get better. So it does get
that's
better. But a
awesome.
lot of folks in this problem do not get help until they get caught.
Because they're scared. Yeah.
Yeah, until it gets worse and worse and worse. And, I've always seen pedophilia as a very interesting amalgamation of several factors. There's a sex addiction component to it. There is like that threshold pushing to get the high, which is where people descend into it. You're both right that there's a trauma history very strongly linked, a not insignificant number of time or prevalence. We see comorbidity a lot with this.
Yeah.
So it is a very complex problem, but people do get better with help.
Yeah. Going back to kind of the writer's question, what are y'all's thoughts? I was teetering on this, but what are y'all's thoughts on the writer kind of sitting down with their friend again, not to be like, what did you do? What are details or anything like that, but more like some more general questions that are like, how did you get better? What did you take away from it? Or like basically clarity on like who they are now in that progress.
That's an interesting idea.
I don't know. Do you think that'd be helpful or hurtful?
I think it all depends on how you approach it.
Yeah.
Like if the writer goes into this and the friend kind of starts to feel like they're being interrogated,
right.
then I think,
great.
Like
Yeah.
this person has already suffered legal consequences. They've already done that.
Right.
And if they feel like they're being attacked again, and they have to go through it a second time, that may not be good. But if the friend is just kind of like, look, I value our friendship.
Right.
I'm an open book. What do you want to know? If you want to talk this through, if they have that perspective on it, then I think it's great for the writer to actually take advantage of that and like sit down and like, yeah, ask some questions. If you're asking them honestly and because you value the relationship, the friendship, and you want to continue to be good friends with them, and you're just trying to sort things through in your head, if you're going through it, I think from that perspective and like just an honest perspective of wanting to know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that could be a really good thing. I just think you got to be careful in how you do that.
I just feel like with stuff like this, your mind can really go wild.
Yeah.
With like,
Oh, yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
So I was.
Well, yeah, because
yeah.
when you hear somebody's on the sex offender registry,
The first thing you think is
Yeah,
not,
I
like
think the
yeah.
worst possible
I
thing.
flashed a cop when I like
right?
I
No,
don't know.
yeah, you
That's
you
why I'm on
imagine
it.
you
Yeah.
imagine children tied up in basements,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
You imagine
The worst
something like
possible
that.
thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, yeah, you're right. Like, I've heard of. I don't actually know anybody, but I've heard of people who like were out golfing and just
peed on the course.
Yeah.
And, it's
and then
public
got
exposure.
arrested.
Yeah.
Public exposure.
Yeah.
Boom, you're on the
I met
registry.
with a kid who had to
And
have
then there's, like, these
a level
tough
of
on
treatment
crime.
for some version of that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's like tough on crime laws that are
Yeah.
sometimes like we've designed a system where there is no
Yeah.
nuance because
Yeah.
all the politicians there is no upside to
Well,
nuance
yeah.
on sex
Because
offense.
if you want to, if you're the politician that's like, this is
Yeah.
ridiculous, I'm not going to vote for this.
yeah, the ad just writes itself.
The attack ads are going to be crazy.
Yeah, Bob John voted to protect sex offenders. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
well then get rid of that guy.
Yeah.
There is no nuance. Like
There isn't.
humans cannot get into
Yeah,
it.
there really isn't.
That's why I kind of do like Whitney's suggestion of like approaching your friend to seek nuance, right?
Yeah.
And I think for
Yeah,
you,
that's a
that's
good
going to
way
be
to put
really
it.
profound. I agree with you that there could be a situation where a friend is like, look, I reluctantly told you this. I cannot tell you the amount of shame and like disgust I have with this about myself. And I really can't. I can't talk to you about it.
I'd be worried
I don't
about that
know.
too.
Yeah.
Not even just that the friend might feel attacked, but it might just be like, man, I told you this because I felt like I kind of had to tell you this at that moment.
Right.
This isn't something that I want to have conversations about.
That's
And then
fair.
it can just be like, I can't hang out with that person because all that person now wants to talk to me about is my
see that too.
sex offender history.
It's a good point.
and that's where I feel like the nuance comes in because, in my opinion, if I'm going to have a child and I want to like trust
be
that
friends.
around you, if
Yeah.
I weren't going to have a child and I was just drilling you because I'm curious, I totally
That's
get.
different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my opinion.
I mean, I think you're coming from a good place
yeah,
on it.
yeah, no, and I agree. You don't want it to be an interrogation. Like you aren't really trying to seek nuance and friendship
Right.
and that. But I'm just hooked on the part where they're like, I'm having a hard time letting go of what I know about him now. And it's like, you really don't know much. You know what
Right.
that title says when you look up
Good
on the
point.
registry, which is not always super clear.
Right.
It's like, a summary of what an offense is. And so maybe, again, think about this hard and very clearly on what you want to gain from it, like Nick said, and how you would even want to ask this. But I think if it would help your friendship to maintain, you would be able to see your friend still as, the good person
Yes.
that you saw him as before, who has this past,
Yes.
and somebody that you could still trust around your child when you're
Yeah.
all together and not be constantly like, well, what did they do? What did they do? Like, where's my
Yeah.
kid every 2 seconds? If you find that it would be helpful, I think that
Which I
could
think
be,
you can approach
but not
honestly.
ongoing and not like, all
Yeah.
right, let's go back to
Well,
this
what
again
about-
and let's go back to this.
Yeah. What about not making it about questions, but more about statements? As in, like, the writer can, like, I'm not going to ask you any questions. I don't, you can disclose whatever you want. I just want you to know that I value our relationship. I
Love that.
appreciate you telling me this. I know that was a big risk for you to do that.
I love that.
And I appreciate the courage it took to do that.
Yeah.
Boom. Then
also,
leave it.
I
And
think
then
You
be done.
could even add to that, like, hey, there are a lot of questions that are
Yes.
circulating around in my mind. I don't feel like it's my business to ask these questions.
like
Right.
that.
But if there is anything else you would like to volunteer to me
That could help me
to
understand.
clarify this
Yeah.
picture in my mind,
like I would appreciate
I'd be
Yeah.
accepting of that. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
But also, I don't want to pressure you into
Oh, I love
to
that.
doing
love
that
that.
as well.
Yeah,
I love that.
combo.
I love the
That
transparency.
was Jacob, by the way,
Great
not
job.
Jim
Oh,
Joe.
that
Yeah.
wasn't
Thank you.
Jim.
Takes
Thanks.
credit for the wins.
Very
I like
clearly
the
not
idea
Jim.
of being vulnerable back to your friend because
Yeah.
they were very vulnerable and they revealed
Yeah,
something.
you should admit something you did.
Yeah, let's
Ryder.
compare notes. But no, coming back to them and saying, look,
Even.
since you told me that, I've been struggling, and I struggle because
I killed a hobo.
Yeah, but not on
Robocon
purpose.
just happened.
He was already half dead. I just took his stopwatch. So, like, I think that wait, pocket watch. That's what I wanted.
Stopwatch.
Stopwatch. I
Back
know. It's
to
like
one.
he
Restart the
stopped.
show.
His heart stopped.
Yeah, restart. I want to. Welcome to Pod Therapy, real people. So no, I like the cross vulnerability of giving back to the person and saying, basically humanizing them, but confiding in them and saying, since you've told me this, it has been very different for me. I have never known anybody who has had this. It's never been confessed
I've kind
to
of
me.
spiraled a little bit on this.
And I've spiraled because I had a very specific view of what people who have done this look like and behave like and are. And you're none of those things.
Yeah.
And so my
and you can
brain
say
is doing
very pointedly,
somersaults.
you have changed my view on this to some degree.
I am struggling. And so I want to complete whatever process I'm going through right now because I'm stuck in the middle, right? Between the demonic, scary clown version of what I've heard this is and you, a man who I respect his life and his family and his children. So I'm adopting, and I in no small way do I sometimes imagine myself as a father imitating you, a dad I know, and coming to you for advice. And so I'm stuck between these two worlds. It would really help me if you ever were open to it, to sharing more, not just about the dirty stuff and what you did. I might not need to know that, but maybe a lot more about how you changed. And that would be the last thought I have on this writer.
That'd be nice. Yeah,
I think it would be really
kind of
healthy.
the what was it like on the other side of that?
Teach me why things got better and how you, because that's what the number one thing you need to hear about is that change happens.
Yes.
And it is possible.
What's different?
What's different?
Yeah.
I mean, recovered people, something that Nick and I have got to work with a lot in substance abuse, are some of the best human beings I have ever met.
I know. I
Like
agree.
people, if
I
I
have so much energy though.
people
Not
that
the
I
cocaine.
know are in recovery. If I meet somebody and they tell me like they're in recovery for so long, they no longer do this or that, in the back of my mind, I suddenly realize I am meeting such an authentic human who has done so much more personal work than almost anybody I've ever met in my life. And I find those people to be very winsome, and like I look for that is not a turnoff. Like if I meet somebody that tells me that, I'm not thinking, oh shit, I don't want to hang out with that person because they used to do drugs or whatever. Like I don't know what they used to do in their old life. In fact, it goes the opposite way. The recovery thing adds 10 points to the scales on the other side because I've gotten to know what recovery is.
Well, yeah, I have the same perspective too. Like if somebody tells me that they're like 15 years in recovery, like I'm thinking, wow, you've had to do everything we've all had to do plus.
Yeah.
more.
Oh, yeah.
With
Weights on your
avoiding-
back.
Yeah, and so it's like, wow, that's
Yeah,
actually
and they
pretty
just tend to be
impressive.
really quality people
Yeah.
who have done like really sincere efforts at like self-change. They've addressed a lot of character stuff. So I say that to you, writer, because it's very likely that though nobody's happy that your friend went through this, part of the person you have met and that you have grown to like and really appreciate is who they are because they went through a huge personal transformation and therapy and punishment and self-reflection and reading and change. And I just don't want you to lose track of that because when you hear something like this, it becomes such a big label that it eclipses everything else that they are. But in reality, what we're failing to see is that the change has already happened in so many ways. And that's so important because you need to be able to believe in that change. And look, if humans couldn't change, then we're in the wrong fucking business.
Yeah,
But they can and they do.
that's a great point, Jacob.
Thank you.
Fuck.
I would like to say that I, Jim Jobin, disagree with all of that.
People don't change. They're all bad. Good luck on this one,
Yeah.
Ryder. But, I love that you're taking a nuanced approach. I love that you talked
love
about
the
it with your
honesty,
spouse.
too, and you're
Also
feeling
telling your spouse.
conflicted.
Because I could see a lot of people like, oh, I don't want to tell my spouse. It's going to ruin like my ability to even talk to this friend anymore. And like your spouse took a very moderate view of it too. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm not going to tell you not to hang out with this guy anymore, but I'm going to create a hard rule right now that just this will never be an open door for me.
Yeah.
Don't ever ask that. And it's like, yep, I'm with you.
Okay.
We're on the same page. Now we just have to figure out the rest. So
This is why you never share information with your spouse.
that's, never tell them anything.
Secrets.
But
Do you
know
guys,
what?
if somebody tells you something and says, like, do not tell anyone else about this, do you automatically tell your significant other
Yes.
anyway?
Yes.
I was wearing a wire
And
the whole
does that
time.
person assume that you're going to tell your
Yes.
significant other, or do they think that you're going to keep it from your significant other?
Right.
I've talked about this with my friends,
a
and they're
good
always
question.
like, yeah, if there is a spouse or very long-term partner involved, it's like, okay, don't tell anyone. Well, I know you're going to tell Peter. I know
Right.
you're going to tell who, like, but no one else. Because unless they tell me, don't tell anyone, even Peter, which
Yeah.
doesn't really happen that often. But then I'm like, okay, I won't.
Whitney, I
So-
would appreciate it if you would not discuss anything that has been spoken about here with Peter.
Okay.
Peter didn't give a fuck about this podcast.
That's just true.
He pays y'all money.
Peter
One
would
whole
actually
dollar.
sincerely appreciate it if Whitney would follow that rule.
Yeah.
Can we
He would
actually
too.
require that she
That-
does tell
that
him
is true.
everything?
That is true.
I
He's
would
like,
like
please
that
stop
better.
telling me things. I'm stressed.
But no, but actually, so if I'm saying something to a close friend of mine and they're in a relationship,
Mhm.
I will never say anything to that person that I don't want the spouse to know.
Right.
Well, that's
yes.
fair.
Yes.
I assume the spouse is going to know.
Yes, I agree.
I just like, and when I say don't tell anybody this, I assume they're going to tell their significant other.
I agree.
Now, when it comes to people telling me something, I don't, unless I won't hide information. Like, so if
Just I
this
won't
isn't a
tell
visual,
anyone.
this isn't a visual podcast.
I know,
so
that's
they
just
can't
for you,
see
Nick.
the look
I
that you
know.
gave me.
There's
No
so
one
much
else saw.
visual
I know.
that Whitney does. Like, we'll be speaking and she'll point at us and be like, yes. And I'm like, say it. Say it with
no,
your mouth.
No, what I want the
I've been
audience
see your
practicing.
hand.
I want the audience
said
to
your
see
face
the eye
was red.
rolls. That's what I want.
like the
Or
one I
just the
just gave
shaking
Nick.
head, like looking
I would
down.
never tell
Whitney
anyone.
is very expressive,
You know.
but it's all visual. Yeah, it's all visual.
the
Incredible.
No, but
cameras.
like I wouldn't intentionally keep something from Laura, but I wouldn't offer it up.
I gotta try this out. I'm gonna think of
Okay,
some
yeah.
juicy stuff to tell
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Then I'll ask
Let's-
Laura later.
I'll
Did
tell
I
you
tell
what.
you this?
If somebody tells me, I'm going to tell you this, and I'd really appreciate it if you don't say anything to anyone else. I can't think of an instance that I've gone and told SJ anyway.
Yeah. Because
Unless
most of
they,
the time,
like, if they say, no, tell, I assume you're going to tell SJ or something like that. Then, like, I may or may not tell her.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
But if unless they volunteer it, unless they say it, I assume that they mean what they say.
I mean, I'm thinking like 99% of the stuff that people have told me, where they've told me don't tell anybody else, Laura wouldn't care to
That's
know.
also
Right.
true.
That's true. It's
You
like
know,
they don't care.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah.
SJ doesn't give a fuck.
That's just true.
It really helps when your spouse
But
just
But
would
Nick
not
would
give
never
a
tell
fuck.
No,
anyone.
SJ's like, who the fuck is Jim Jobin?
Yeah. I'm right here.
Been speaking to you this whole time.
Jimothy Jobin.
Jimothy.
Oh God,
Right
help
here.
me. It'll never
JJ.
get better. It's all so bad. All right.
I don't have a
anyway.
PhD.
Well, that's just true because I lost that. So because of my gambling fucking problems.
Because I'm probably not qualified to work at a university.
Oh Christ.
Or go to their meetings.
God damn you both. All three of you. You've all just fucked me.
I didn't point that time.
So many ways.
Just so it's noted.
It hurts. It just cuts me so deep. Anyway. So, Ryder, the last thing I just want to say, and I think that this is just generally true for everybody, and I hope that, it's something that hearing tough questions like this and thinking about people who have, done things they deeply regret, just remembering that none of us is our worst moment. I just think that's really important. And yes, there may still be consequences for that. And that may be true. And we have to deal with our problems. And that's fair. And I'm not against that. But I do think that it's important that we all remember that none of us needs to be defined by our very worst moment. Every human is an ocean of experiences and contradictions. We can be a good person who has been kind to others and at times has done awful things that everybody hates about us and is wrong. And so all those things can coexist. We can't just be one thing. And that is difficult. And the human brain struggles sometimes to see anybody as more than one. But we do have to embrace that complexity. We have to remember to apply the same standard to others that we would apply to ourselves. Because I might look at you and say, hey, you tell me the worst thing you've ever done. And it might be something that I really deeply morally disagree with. And I may have very hard lines about how I see people who have done that thing that you're telling me about. But that would also not define you. And you would struggle with that and say, look, I regret that choice. I was young. I wasn't thinking. I was in a different place. I was unwell. And it's like, you're just making excuses to hide who you really are. And it's like, that's not fair, man. Like, I can change. Humans can change. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be friends with this person forever. This may be something you say, it's just too much of a distraction for me. And I don't know that I can do well with this. And that's okay too, friend. Like, if that's your truth, that's your truth. You're not a bad person for not being able to get over it. But you did ask a sincere question, and I think your question invited us to weigh in on the complexity and help humanize your friend. It seems to be what you're asking us to do. And so I think we're all trying to give our best shot to just helping you understand the nuance, probably the way that we would think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck with this. As we wrap up the show, we want to remind you could sign up at patreon.com/therapy. You can get our extended show ad-free a day earlier, as well as enjoy our live chat Discord community and our weekly deep dives, interviews, skill shares, research roundups, and rants. And this week, who's your interview?
It's your week.
Is it?
Yep.
Because you gave me 2, but I don't do that to you when I cover for you. So, like, when I cover for you, I put it back in the normal rotation.
Okay.
So, when I've covered for you in the past, I just take your week, and then I do my normal next week, and we go right into the rotation. I don't punt.
All right.
I'm just saying, because you've been bailed out a few times, and I believe I've set the standard, so...
Well,
I would like back to the regular rotation, please.
A sunny boy, guess what? Your episode just got bumped up, buddy.
I've been waiting for that one. That's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one.
Their producer interviews. Get to know our listener community in only the way that Nick's random ask questions
So I'm just going to do this right now
Thanks,
because
buddy.
I'm going to forget if I don't.
While you're doing that, I will announce that we've got some new Therapals.
Cool.
And I was going to say Whitney, who's new to the Therapy, but she doesn't have a
I
script.
didn't have my thing up. Sorry. I have it now.
Do you go for it? Who's our new Therapals?
All right, our new Therapals are Sean Lawler and Smug Mochi Ice Cream.
I love it. Welcome. And we've got some new Therapods. Who's new to the Therapod show?
Itty bitty chicken farmer.
I like that. That's
cute.
Very cute. Anytime you can get us to laugh. That's fun because I get to say those Therapod names every month. So that one's easy to pronounce. We also want to thank the benevolent, revered, generous, and flagrantly pro-therapy diehards who love you all so much they give till it hurts. The Therapartners, Dirty, B, and Pickett. And we want to especially thank our bosses, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of our fan club, the Theraproducers. Hey, wait a minute. It was your week anyway, dude. I released one last week.
Wow.
You bailed me out 2 weeks ago.
No. Yes. All of mine have already been set. They're already in there.
Yeah.
You missed a week.
Yeah, then you bailed.
So then I bumped mine up.
So then I took over the next week.
Yes. So then you have your regular week.
Oh, so you're keeping me on a double.
And why
I
wouldn't
filled
you?
in. Like,
Are we there yet?
okay.
I fixed it.
All right, whatever. Their producers, Jake Schneider, Myra, Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, Smitty Scoop, Ben Don, Judy Schneider,
Just trying
Kayla
to make
Lansbury,
myself care.
Malia, Leon Kassab, Mason Miller,
Jacob.
Richard fucking Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley Slap in Your Face, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, Mike Helm, Paris, Samantha Cohn, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Matt Lisa Tangeman, Heyo, Oscar, Swan Rose, A Sunny Boy, Slurpy Kai, Motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Dan Martin, Hannah Marie, Andrew Langmead, Emma Kane, our intern, and Elena.
And if you would like to do this episode uncut and unedited,
And why wouldn't you?
and enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy, and thank you for supporting mental health.
That's all the time we got for this week's session. Want to thank our landlords, Matt and Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast, and thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, Pod Therapy isn't something to keep all to yourself. Share this episode with the world. Tag us on the socials when you do. You can find us at PodTherapyGuys on Instagram, Threads, and Twitter, /PodTherapy on Facebook. And don't forget about all the extra goodies at patreon.com/therapy.
Do you want to submit a question to the show? Ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Whitney.
I am Jim Jobin.
Are you?
This is
Are
CNN.
M. Jim Joe.
Who's Jim Jobin?
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
Nobody ever asks how is Jim Jobin.
How? Not how.
Yeah, there's
Who?
a fucking reason. We don't want
They
to
don't ask. They don't ask where he is
Nobody
either.
cares.
Where
where.
it is.
They forget to invite him. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.